But in every struggle, we need veterans of the fight that know how to win, and that's Congressman Grayson. He returned to the Congress of the United States to get the job done. So I organized the meeting, and who was the first one to come into the meeting? This is like the, in Congress of the United States, everything is official. Everything is sanctioned, right? The party leadership bestows upon you titles. Right? Not Congressman Grayson. He just accepts the invitation of Luis Gutierrezs to get together in the small business community committee. We had a few donuts and a few bagels and some coffee that wasn't quite warm, right? But we got together there, and he walked in, and I said, mira, ahí está el congresista Grayson. Acaba de regresar al Congreso, y en la primera reunión que llamo, ahí él está presente, como yo me lo imaginaba. Just like that. And isn't it wonderful that we're in Orlando? For me it's particularly wonderful. Porque, como dice padre, ¿verdad? Hola boricua. Hola boricua. Because, la Asociación Borinqueña is the longest established organization of Latinos in California. And I just want to share with you that, like my parents kept saying, tienes que ser orgulloso de quien tú eres, si no tú no puedes amar a ninguna otra persona. And so I part from that premise, right? And it was a struggle. It was a struggle because as Puerto Ricans, we came here to a country in the 1950s. My parents came to a country in the 1950s when it was against the law, right? For people to share bathrooms, for people to share restaurants. There was no civil rights law. It was against the law for a black man and a white woman, or a white woman and a black man to marry one another. That was against, they put you in jail for that. And everybody says, well, it was in the South. No, it was in Chicago too, where we lived in one of the most segregated cities in the world. And my parents came here like everyone else that moves from their country. They came here because they wanted a better life, because they felt a sense of hopelessness, because they didn't see a future in their beautiful island of Puerto Rico. They didn't come for the Philharmonic of Chicago. They didn't come for the White Sox or the Cubs. They certainly didn't come for the weather. They came for one reason, the same reason that has moved people throughout the history of mankind, looking for a better future for themselves and for their children and for their families. And that's why Puerto Ricans came here as migrants. Now they came here as citizens of the United States. But let me suggest to you very clearly that they face the same discrimination, the same bigotry, and the same hatred that immigrants today face in the United States of America. To me one time, he said, Luisito, quizá no había nadie que nos defendiera a nosotros en los 50 y los 60, pero tú tienes voz, levanta la voz y defiende a aquellos que no tienen nadie que los defienda. Raise that voice and defend them. And so that we get, from my point of view, basic nature de ser puertorriqueño es ver una injusticia y no poder quedarte callado. Ver una injusticia y no poder quedarte quieto. Tienes que denunciarlo. Así que aquí, en la Asociación Borinqueña, gracias por ser los anfitriones, porque históricamente ustedes han sido para todos. I think of Florida and I think of Roberto Clemente. And he used to come down here. And they used to drop him off the bus because he couldn't stay with the rest of the players. When he came down here, Roberto decía, ¿para qué caray pasa aquí? ¿Verdad? Porque Roberto decía, en Puerto Rico esto no es así. And he would come here. That all-star, right? I remember how proud I was of him, right? As a little kid going out. And I had to go to the Cubs in Chicago. And when the Pirates would come in, my dad and I and all the rest of the Puerto Rico would quietly cheer for him. Right? In the middle of all the Cubs fans. Just think of him. He's Puerto Rican, but he was a black man too. And he faced all of that bigotry and all of that discrimination, right? But he did it in such a way that instilled such pride in all of us. When Martin Luther King came to Puerto Rico, who received him? Roberto Clemente. And so, I mean, you know, we all know about Roberto Clemente and how he lived his life on the field, right? The MVP, right? That left fielder that no one would dare cross, that rocket arm. But let me just suggest something else about Roberto Clemente. Not only how he lived his life, but for what he gave his life for. He saw an earthquake in Managua, Nicaragua. And you know, he was MVP. Just won. The Pirates just won the World Series, MVP. I want you to think of the MVP today of the NFL or of baseball or of anything today. The NBA. Yeah, maybe they'll have a press conference, maybe they'll write a check. Not Roberto Clemente. Roberto Clemente went to our Puerto Rico and he said, esos son nuestros hermanos. Those are our brothers. Those are our sisters. It's a moment of necessity. And he picked food and medicine and clothing. And when it got to Managua, the dictatorship took all the food, took all the medicine for themselves. The corruption of the government. So what did Roberto Clemente do? He got on the next plane. He said, a ver si a Roberto Clemente le hacen eso. No parece tan boricua. A ver si a Roberto Clemente le hacen eso. And he went back throughout the island, he got more food, and he got more medicine, right? And he got more clothing, and he put it on a plane. And that plane never made it to Managua. I want you to think, not about how people necessarily all the time live there, but what they give their lives for. And Roberto Clemente dio su vida en la grandeza de la comunidad puertorriqueña. Los puertorriqueños siempre hemos sido latinoamericanos. Los puertorriqueños siempre. So it should be natural that at this particular point, we would be taking a leadership responsibility on this issue. And so I tell all of you that are here, thank you so much, because you make me so proud. I go throughout the country, and it seems like everywhere I go, Congressman Grayson, there's somebody with a Puerto, I mean, there'll be like 5,000 Mexicans. And they'll be like, what Puerto Rican? Everybody laughs because they all know I'm telling them the truth. And so it is wonderful to see America, because in the end, what am I a product of? Of the very history that my parents confronted here, right? I'm the product of a civil rights movement. I mean, you don't have a Voting Rights Act, you don't have Luis Gutierrez. You don't have a Civil Rights Act, you don't have Luis Gutierrez. And I want you to think of all of the black men and women in the South particularly, right? They were lynched and hung and whose churches were burned down so that one day Luis Gutierrez could have a voice in the Congress of the United States. It was great to go back to Birmingham, Alabama. But you know what was really set me back, Congressman Grayson, coming back? It wasn't that there were Latinos in the crowd. It was that the majority of the people in the church were black. The majority of the people in that church who had lived the civil rights movement of the 50s and the 60s were embracing the human rights and the civil rights movement of today, which is comprehensive immigration. Yeah, we're going to go around the country because the politics and the time is coming. I want to say to the dreamers that have spoken, we're not going to just leave you with a deferred action, with a card for 2 years. We're going to make sure you never have to apply again for a card when you get your American citizen passport. It's something that is permanent. And I have to say, it is great when our movement finally coalesces and comes together. Because let's face it, it's kind of like the dreamers here and the rest of the comprehensive immigration reform movement here, right? We're all together now. It's about all 11 million. Everything is coming together at the right time. The politics and the policy are coming together at the right time. And I want to say something. Look, why are we here today? Because Congressman Grayson and I understand, and he said, how many times haven't you heard the congressman say this, right? He says, nothing happens in Washington, D.C. unless there's a demand from outside of Washington, D.C. Unless you organize it from outside of Washington, D.C. And so that's what we're doing here. We're telling Washington, D.C., we have not forgotten the promise and the commitment that you made to comprehensive immigration reform, and we're going to raise our voices and organize it. Yeah. We're going to continue to tell the stories of Evelyn. I loved Evelyn's story. And you know what I love better than her story? The courage with which she tells the story. Porque hay que tener valentía. Mira, no hay ninguna lucha que se ha ganado sin valentía. No. Ninguna que yo conozco. Not any that I know. I mean, women have the right to vote in the United States of America because women stood up and demanded action in Washington, D.C. People in every struggle of this nation, people have had to show courage. She showed courage, and every one of the people. I want to say too, I have to put my glasses on Melissa. Porque Melissa's story, But I want you to understand something. There is an urgency to what we need to do. Y Melissa nos dice la urgencia. Every day, 1,400 people are deported from the United States of America. People that Congressman Grayson so eloquently said should be given an opportunity to stay, that he welcomes them to stay, that he's going to fight for them to stay. But every day, 1,400. I want to tell you, 250 American citizen children lose a mom or a dad every day. So even, ladies and gentlemen, if the most optimistic schedule of the president signing this before the August recess is accomplished, another 150,000 people will be damaged in this fight. So there is an urgency to what we need to do. We have a lot of good fights, Melissa. We have a lot of good fights. We stop a lot of the, we have to keep fighting and stopping the deportations. Porque cada persona que nosotros salvamos de la deportación es una persona que nosotros vamos a poder integrar. Y déjame decirle que de Colombia, yo creo que cualquier, I believe this, that any comprehensive immigration reform package should give the opportunity to heal those families that have been divided because of the devastating effect of the deportations. People should be able to legalize in the United States, and as part of their petition to say, I want my husband back. I want my wife back. I want my son and daughter back. I want my mother back. That has to be part of comprehensive immigration reform to heal. Just during the last 4 years, 1.5 million people were deported. And we won because we made a consistent and persistent demand that Washington, D.C. act. And sometimes we had to go to people who are our friends, people who we love, people who we cherish, people who we want only the best for, like Barack Obama. Because I can say all of those things in honesty to all of you. Pero cuando yo tuve que decidir entre mi cariño que yo tenía para él y el deseo que él fuera el presidente más exitoso del mundo y de Estados Unidos y las deportaciones, yo tenía que estar con aquellos que estaban siendo deportados. We just have to make fundamental clear decisions. And you know something? Because we fought, because we insisted, he got re-elected President of the United States of America. It is not a coincidence. When we went to the president, everybody here remembers, we went to the president, we said, oh, Mr. President, they came to us and they said, well, you know, Senator Rubio has a bill. I said, yes, Senator Rubio has a bill. They said, well, you can't support Senator Rubio's bill because that's a flawed bill. I said, well, okay, Senator Rubio has a flawed bill and I can't support it because it's a flawed bill. Yeah, there's a Rubio problem with this. And I said to people at the White House, I said, you know something, we don't really have a Rubio problem. We have a deportation problem in the United States. And if you think there's a Rubio problem, then use your executive authority to do exactly what the senator is prescribing in his legislation. And you remember, everywhere he went, the president went around campaigning, and it was a wonderful experience. Because what happened? La gente, here's what people would do. Le aplaudían, lo abrazaban, tomaban fotos con el presidente. They put an Obama sticker, and as he walked away, they said, now you gotta stop those deportations, Mr. President. Really, we showed a great degree of sophistication in our community. And what happened after he issued that executive order in June of 2012? Todo subió para arriba. Pobre Iván Longoria, que decía que no lo podía hacer. Gracias que le escuchó a los jóvenes que estaban en sus oficinas, que ellos tenían mucho más inteligencia que la mejor actriz que existe por ahí. Because we had like transformed our public policy. I mean, I like Don Francisco on Sábado Gigante, but when did he become the influential leader of our community on civil rights? I mean, you know, Desperate Housewives on Sunday night, fine. I have nothing better to do. Pero hay que respetar la voluntad del pueblo y la dignidad y la honestidad. So, I wanted to put it in some context of where we're at today. And where are we at today? Wow. I have Jose, que trabaja en mi oficina. 3 months ago, he was undocumented. Today, Jose is a congressional staffer paid by the Congress of the United States. As we filled out his form, I remember we were in the church, at the Methodist church with Reverend Coleman, and we were filling it out on the 16th, the very morning. We had printed the form up the day before. And as soon as he got his authorization back from DACA, it's a beautiful piece of paper. I mean, Mitch, can I tell you something? When I saw the first dreamer get their work authorization, and I saw that document, I have been so used to seeing so many documents that say, show up for deportation on this day, that when I finally saw a document that said, you can stay and you can work and you have been admitted legally to the United States of America, fue un gran día. Fue un gran día para todos nosotros. Y ahora, so what does he do now? Everybody says, well, a lot of people say, well, what are we going to do about health care? Well, they're going to cover health care the same way Jose gets his health care. You know where Jose gets his health care from? The same place 435 members of the House and 100 senators get their health care from. Right? That's where he gets his health care. He gets it because he works. He gets it because a community is going to work. And so I have him there in the office, and isn't it great? Because we have accomplished something. Over 200,000 young immigrants today have work authorization, 200,000. And that was because we were insistent and persistent in our demand that Washington, D.C. could do better for us. And what are we going to do now? Continue to be insistent and persistent at Washington, D.C. so that the moms and the dads and the uncles and the grandparents of all of those young people can stay here and live with them in peace and in harmony as a community of people. And so I'm here just to tell you that Congressman Grayson and I aren't just going to have this opportunity to address you and to listen to all of the wonderful testimony. I know one of you were from Haiti. I couldn't figure out the accent from the other one. What's it? The Bahamas. I was close. I was like a Trinidad Tobago. But welcome. I'm so happy. And let me just say, you know all of those Haitians, our Haitian brothers and sisters, because of the terrible effect of the earthquake, who have been granted temporary protective status in comprehensive immigration reform. In comprehensive immigration reform, they should just go from temporary protective status to legally admitted to the United States of America. And the same thing should happen by my brother. And our Liberian brothers, our Liberian brothers, and hundreds of other Africans from the continent of Africa who today live in fear of deportation. Some of them have been here for more than 10 years. It should be a simple pathway for them. They've been here, we've recognized their stay in this country, we should. So I don't want you to think that this is, look, Latinos, every struggle has a leader. And it's our responsibility to lead. It's also our responsibility to share in that leadership and to make sure that the beneficiaries of the struggle are everyone. We need to have the greatest good for the greatest number of people. And that's a commitment that I'm making to you here today along with Congressman Grayson. That is the kind of proposal. So when you say, what kind of proposal are we going to have? We are insisting as we sit down. Because look, this is not a Democratic bill. This is not the bill I proposed in 2005 with then Congressman Flake, now Senator Flake, and Kennedy and McCain. This is a different moment. This is a bipartisan bill. This is a bill in which you're going to have, remember, we won the presidency and we maintained and expanded in the Senate. But the House of Representatives is controlled by the Republican Party. Now let me tell you what's different, because I like some of the testimony. I remember the Judiciary Committee. I quit and I resigned from the influential, what do they call it? The influential committee of the banking committee. I just didn't think it was that influential. So I resigned so that I could be a member of the Judiciary Committee. And let me tell you something. Things have changed in Washington, D.C., and there's a good reason to have hope. I've been to 3 hearings. And all 3 hearings of the Judiciary Committee so far this year have all been on what? On immigration. And these are hearings headed by the Republican leadership and the Republican chairman, Chairman Goodlatte. And just think about it. Chairman Goodlatte, he was talking to the science, Christian Science Monitor, and he was talking to them. What did he say? He said, well, you know, it can't be like a gift. It can't be easy. It can't be this. It can't be that. But here's what he said. He said, but you know, they should be able to stay. And he said, and eventually, we should figure out a way they can become citizens of the United States. Now, some of you say, well, Luis, you know, what's that? Well, you know what? That's night and day. You remember Romney on November 6th? What was the policy of Romney? Self-deportation. Arizona and 1070 should be replicated in all the other 49 states. And what else did he say? I would veto the DREAM Act. Now they're saying they can stay, and we should figure out a way they can become citizens of the United States of America. Right. That's an improvement in terms of where we're at. So we're going to be here today. And tomorrow we're going to go to Newark, and then we're going to be visiting in Houston, and we're going to go to Dallas, Fort Worth, and we're going to go to San Diego, and we're going to go to San Francisco in the 3rd week, and we're going to visit today. And I just want to say one other thing about Congressman Grayson. You know, most people bring me out to urban settings. And they say, no, they do this. They bring me out to urban settings. Very few people are as special and as committed and have the kind of, total view of this issue that your congressman has. He said, Luis, si tú vas a venir, tú tienes que sentarte con los trabajadores agrícolas que ponen la comida todos los días en nuestra mesa. We cannot forget those that work on the farms. And so we're going to leave here.
Yep, that's right.
We're going to travel an hour out into Haines City. We're going to go to Haines City. And we're going to meet with them, and we're going to eat with them, and we're going to talk to them, because we have to make sure that those who provide us with our food each and every day are part of comprehensive immigration reform, and that they get a square deal too, the same way we eat our meals each and every day. Gracias. Thank you. Thank you to all of those that have given the testimony. Continue to work, especialmente aquí desde la Asociación Puertorriqueña. Muchísimas gracias.